Yo, yo, yo! What's up, what's up, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are again working on the Wayland window manager, and today's topic is input handling. So this is our window manager. You're seeing a Wayland server running as a Wayland client, and then a couple Wayland clients opening themselves within this thing, right? Last we worked on this, we implemented resize on this thing, as well as the ability to like close windows and click on them and stuff. So we have like pointer events in our client. However, we do not have pointer events or any input events hooked up to be sent to a normal application running. So this is like a GLFW application running. This is our own client running here. So what I want to do is I want to first today kind of make it so that when I move my mouse around here, we should be seeing like some actions being taken on this histogram. Like it should be hovering whichever one we're looking at. And if we hover over this, it should be like showing values on these graphs. So I want to like get pointer event working correctly. And then once we do that, we can kind of make it so that our client doesn't process key events at all. So maybe work on that. Try to figure out how on our client on a normal compositor, not ours, how to handle input events. And then once we know how to handle input events, we can like do the correct actions from our side as the compositor and see if a normal application can receive key events after we implement that. But before we get there, the reason this GLFW application is not getting pointer events right now, even though is because we're trying to send them, but we are failing to do so because GLFW will not register for pointer events unless we tell it we support it. And if we tell it we support it, then it falls over. Stares at ZigAmp. Yeah, right. I'll write down as a reminder to myself for later to do Gray Hatter ZigAmp. I do want to take a look at that eventually, but you don't get screen real estate on the YouTube video, Gray Hatter. You're not that cool, so we'll push you off the edge of the screen. Okay. Yeah. So when we tell GLFW we support pointer events, he's going to get mad at us. So I think that's the first thing to tackle here is we're going to turn back on that reporting. So I think it's somewhere in here. We say, when they bind to us, and we say we support pointer events, which I believe is 1 here. I don't remember. We don't create these enums correctly like we're supposed to. So like the Wayland spec is defined in like an XML blob, and we like convert that XML blob into a bunch of Zig code. And we just don't parse their enums because we were too lazy. So when we do things like say we support pointer, we have to manually copy paste the the value. So this is pointer is 1. So if we tell GLFW this thing, you see that GLFW window crashes. And if we look at Y, he says listener function for opcode 5 of WL pointer is null. That's interesting. And I believe also, oh my god, this is spamming. But oh my god, it is spamming. Here we go. Failure to read WL client stream 0. And it looks like he just full closed, right? So maybe what we do here, oopsies, sometimes that happens. Ignore it. Let's try to run the demo app, our GLFW application, a little bit more directly. And so it should be as soon as we send the first pointer event, he gets listener function for opcode 5 of WL pointer is null. So that's interesting. I think that means that this is actually a Wayland communication error. I think it's like, I think in the XML, so if we look at like where are we? Wayland XML. If we look at like the WL pointer interface, I think each event in order gets like an opcode. So this is going to be like opcode 0 from the server. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that doesn't. Oh, sorry, enum. That's enum. Fuck. Hold on. 0, 1, 2. Why am I doing it like this? We actually have the opcodes generated in our bindings. So when we parse this XML, we do this indexing for us. And we could kind of see who opcode 5 is. So this is in WL pointer. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Frame. So that's interesting. So either on the client, saying, hey, this pointer has finished sending events for this frame, that might not be implemented, and so he's crashing. The other option is it's the other way, right? So he might be sending us something and doesn't know how to deal with that. So I guess what we should do is we should kind of look in the lib wayland source code. We're not using lib wayland, but GLFW is, so we can maybe try to figure out what he doesn't like about this. You know what I mean? So listener function for opcode blah. Okay. Listener function 4. That's what we're looking for. Listener function 4. So this is on WL closure invoke. I guess what's probably nicer here is if we manage to just GDB at that point. Which means that we should have the source code checked out for the exact version of lib wayland that we have installed. So how we do that? Env grep lib wayland maybe? Env grep wayland. 1, 2, 3, 1 is what I'm seeing. So that's what we have checked out, which is great. And so we can actually just look for that exact line, which was what? Listener function here. So if we just run our server, and then we run swim, we run demo, but we run it in GDB, and we put a breakpoint on this guy, and we say, yep, wait till you fucking load whatever debug info you want to load, and we have our breakpoint. Beautiful. Wow, that makes everything so fucking easy, dude. Unfortunately, that does not make it that easy. Okay. So we know that we have target interface name. We know we have opcode. We don't really know where we are. So I guess we look at implementation here. And okay, so this gives us a good clue here that the first element here is enter. So if we look at like, give me the next, 10 values here. This implementation in lib wayland is opcode 0 is enter, opcode 1 is leave, opcode 2 is motion, 3 is button, 4 is axis, right? So that probably lines up with these events that we can send. Enter, leave, motion, button, axis, right? And then they're saying frame, which we send, is not implemented. So why? Right? That's weird, I would think. So is this like this is an opcode, this has been implemented since 5. Okay. So it could be that GLFW is binding to us with an old version, like an outdated version of this wayland interface, and we are unconditionally sending it back. And he's like, yo, I don't know how to handle that yet. I'm on wayland 4. Maybe. Right? That's a possibility. Right, because these other events don't have that same since 5 thing. So I think that when they bind to us, I think the bind thing has an interface version. So can we do this? Okay, first of all, there's like a bunch of print spam kind of left around from some unfinished commits in here. So let's get rid of those for a second. Specifically that one. But I think there's some maybe kicking around here that were fucking annoying. Okay. So if we run this demo, we were trying to see the bind results. I forgot. And then there's also still fucking spam here. I think we're not handling close correctly. We did some refactoring earlier today, and I think that close is not being correctly handled, but we'll deal with that later. Okay. So binding interface T with version D, we'll say. And the interface is int from enum of bindings, enum from int. Oh, I guess we have that here. We already have that. So we're binding to interface with params ID interface version. Oopsies. Okay, run the demo app. Okay, so they are binding to WL seat with version 4. Which isn't what we're looking for, right? We're looking for WL pointer. So how does WL pointer get his version set up, right? So when we call WL seat, we call get pointer. There's no version associated with this thing. So I would assume that this is on the seat interface. I would assume. But I don't really know. I assume that our thing has WL seat. I mean, we still have version 9. I don't. So is it possible? Ah, okay, I see. So there's been a lot of iterations of this thing. And so GLFW only supports up to 4. So we have to flag, I guess, when they connect to us, what version of the interface they're using. Right? So anything here, I guess there's kind of 2 pieces here, right? One is that we have to write down what version each event is associated with, and then not fucking send them if they haven't bound with that ID or with that interface, like if they don't know about it. That seems reasonable, right? So if we look at the XML here, like we must be able to see like WL pointer. So if we look at the frame thing, frame since 5. Okay. So there's so many pieces to piece together here. So it's like something along the lines of WL seat is version 9. WL pointer implicitly has same version as seat. Maybe? Right, because it's like GLFW binds WL seat with version 4, I think. And so do we know from the XML that these things are tied together? Maybe not. Right, I guess that you could maybe assume here. Didn't it bind version 3 and 4 of WLC? Yeah, that's kind of funny. I think one of these might be coming from EGL and one of them might be coming from GLFW. So I think that each bound interface has a version, and any of the new ID functions that, or like anytime we like create new sub things off that thing, I think we probably propagate the same version number. That's my assumption right now. I don't know if we can like, is that true though? Like, does WL keyboard, he also is version 9? Which makes sense. So I think it's like anything, what about like WL touch? Also version 9. So I think for now, it's a sane assumption to say that anybody, so the bind function is this interface is just a lie, by the way. This bind function, this is not the bind function. The bind function has an like a version on it. So I think we probably assume that since the bind function is the only thing that gives us a version, any new thing that is spawned off an interface gets this associated version number. Can we check that with like, I don't know, something else like XDG shell? Like, does everybody in XDG shell have like the same version? So like we have WM base is like the top level thing, and if we call get XDG surface, we'd hope that XDG surface is also version 6. We would hope. Yes. Okay, I think that's reasonable. So our plan of action, this is just pivoting, right? We're not going to have any time to do input today. So this is like diagnose GLFW crash. The next thing we are doing is like tracking versions for, I guess we need to what's the plan? What's the plan? It's like each event needs to know which version it supports. We need to know each pointer, each interface needs a version. And then we need to like only emit events if they're supported. Right? It's like something along these lines. So yeah, I think this is a fine order. So let's start by figuring out, you know, which event is associated with which version. I think that's easy to track. I think. So this is now wayland protocol version switching. Yeah. So we look at this XML file and we generate a bunch of stuff out of it. What we generate is something that looks like this. So if somebody is binding to me, we want, when we emit our like WL pointer frame, this is kind of the guy that's freaking the fuck out, right? We need to know somehow if this is supported, right? So I guess like the sane thing to do, I want to do something like frame supported, right? Maybe, or like frame required version. But maybe it belongs here. this is the simplest because like the chance of name collision here is quite small. And then this is easy to query, I think. How would this be used? So, I mean, how do we query the opcode right now? How do we query the opcode? Here, we just get the type and then call .op. Yeah. Yeah, so we can do something like, yeah, I think that's fine. This feels like an okay place to place it. So we would kind of call like somewhere in our thing, wherever we emit that like frame thing, we would call like if, you know, WL bindings, then this is on whichever interface. So this is WL pointer, frame params, min version is greater than, we would do this, right? Like we'd like, you know, bound version is greater than or equal to this, then we send this, right? It would look something like that, which is fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. So all we have to do then is in our XML parsing, we have to like track that thing. What do we call it? WLGen maybe? So when we are parsing an interface, this guy is gonna have each request and event. Each request or event is going to have min version here, right? Something like that. And as we are scanning through this stuff, we're gonna look for the key since, right? And if we find the key since, we are going to say var min version. I guess this kind of live here. And then we kind of unconditionally do this. And then we have to like parse this thing probably. So it's like min version s is what is our like allocation scheme here? Is this like arena? What is happening here? Whoa. This is general purpose allocator. Okay. So we can do this. This is kind of the way at this point. And then we do stud format parse int. Is that how you do this? Something like this. Something like this. Man version is this. Boom. Okay. Okay. Then oopsies, wrong one. Okay. So now he has that thing. And all we have to do is wherever we put like op, we do this. Boom. Easy. Okay, so now in our bindings, we're hoping we have min version associated with this thing. So if we go to frame now, WL pointer frame, min version 0 is not good. I think I've seen you use general purpose allocator a lot. I don't know if you know, but it's been technically a deprecated alias to debug allocator. Yeah, I know. I just don't really care because, like, in reality, I don't really use it that often. I only am using that on like old code. Usually, I use my own allocators most of the time. So it's just like if it's old, it's old. It looks like we maybe are not seeing since. It's very likely that this isn't happening. So can we double check the XML? We might have got this wrong. WL pointer, event frame. Oh, no, it should be there. So it feels like this is not as I expect, but I don't know why. Because if we see name, then we do this. Oh, we break out early. Because the only thing we cared about before was name. Now we care about other stuff, so we shouldn't break out of the loop if we find name. That's probably it. That's probably it. Bindings. Frame params. There we go. Look at that bad boy. Okay. So now, we need to find that version. We need to attach the version that the client sends us to the interface somehow. So I think right now we kind of have this like interface registry thing. And in this thing, we kind of say, okay, for each, how do I say this? For each object that we register with the server, we are registering it as some type. Right, so I bind WL pointer as object 25, then we write down that, like, okay, 25 is WL pointer. In here, I think it's reasonable to just also write down the version. And does that make sense on the client too? Yeah, I don't really see why not. So here, I think that we want to go like interface info, and this guy's gonna have like the interface type, and here he's gonna have the version that he's bound at. Right? Easy. Easy. And I guess for now, just to make things easier, this is just because, like, shared code between client and server, unsure if it should be. We might undo some of the work we did earlier today if this doesn't make sense anymore. We were kind of trying to merge the client and server paths, but I don't know if both the client and the server care about this. Right? This might be a server-only thing, so maybe this also should just belong somewhere else. Yeah, maybe that's... Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just make it null for now, stick it in here, and I'm unclear on if everybody else cares. Unsure, so we'll just kind of figure it out for now. Okay, so I think... Who calls this? Okay, for now, I'm just going to kind of pipe everything the way it was. But we're gonna have to find a way to attach the info we care about later. But I just think it's easier if we keep things compiling while we can. So we're gonna try to keep everything exactly the same for now. For now. Can't the server implement different versions of the protocols and advertise multiple versions for the clients, allowing the client to choose which they support? I think so. I think so. I think that's what we're trying to implement. Right? So like the client binds at version 5 and we will like switch our behavior depending on which version they're talking to. That's what I'm trying to do. Maybe I'm doing it in like a stupid way, but we will see. Okay, so now that everything is compiling, we can kind of go in here and wherever they call bind, here is where we start attaching the interface version, right? So I think here we kind of want this guy here. And then that means that this guy kind of gets this like this. Okay. This is on the server. Someone called get registry. Does get registry have a version or is that kind of like implied 0? Get version. Or get registry, sorry. So this guy doesn't attach a version, but does maybe W registry is just like always version 1. Kind of seems that way, right? So maybe we just fucking write a 1 here. Okay. So then when they call create surface from the compositor, like this thing is just pulling the same version. So we need to ask, we need to know the version of our request that came in. So here it's almost like incoming, like rec version, I think, is held here. Maybe. And then we can kind of propagate that wherever we're calling register ID. Right? On like almost everybody. When they're registering things, we should spell this correctly. I don't know. We're really just kind of spitballing here. So when we call this guy now, I guess it kind of makes sense for the version to be attached to this when we get each message, because he's the guy who knows, which means that this incoming message needs to have a version on this thing, I guess. So I kind of feel like this interface's get now is going to return an interface info instead of this thing directly. That's just kind of how it feels. Okay, so how does this fall over now? This guy needs to dereference the interface type, and then let's like assign this 1 or 0 instead of null by default. I think that makes things easier. Okay. And now just we're kind of propagating this like version shit on register ID wherever we see it. Version, version, version. Okay, this is kind of coming along. Okay. This is interesting. So this guy needs the version to be propagated. Okay. How's it looking? Rec version goes here. Bang, bang, boom. Okay, so that compiles. And so now all we have to do is check that that version is correct. Right? So wherever we call that like frame thing, why don't we have the version here? Why don't we have that? Because this WL pointer is being resolved by like a reference. No, we're iterating all of our WL pointers. So here I kind of feel like we're here we go. So here we look at the object ID for this thing. Here. So we're like, this is the interface version. We kind of have this information now. And we just say if interface version is greater than or equal to WL pointer bindings WL pointer frame params min version. We do this. And we might want to think about like, is there a generic way to enforce this? Right? It feels like there should be, but I just don't know what that is yet. Okay. So it'd be kind of cool if this just kind of worked now. No, he did not. But the error is different now. The error is different. That's good. So it's possible that that solved that problem. It's possible. Very possible. Only this is like pointer frame event if supported. It's very possible that this works. In which case we're kind of back on input. Wayland, GLFW point like input handling. I don't know. Okay. So this is diagnose second GLFW crash. Right, that's what we're doing now. We've kind of passed the first one, theoretically, maybe. And we can look for the second one now, which is invalid buffer 55. So I guess we need to find out where WL buffer 55 comes from. Where is that? Invalid WL buffer. Okay. I guess, what are we building? We're making a window manager. A Linux window manager. Can we do this? Scope is WL, it's like wayland connection or something. I don't remember. WL connection, I was close. And level is debug. Let's fucking crank up our logs, baby. Let's crank up our logs. Okay. Why? Okay, something's wrong here. We're supposed to be spamming like fucking crazy there. Oh, this is the wrong... I just put this in the wrong spot, that's why. Could version just be check be done inside the generator interface? Maybe, but then, like, my problem with that is just clobbering the request wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if I say send frame, I think it's confusing if we don't send frame just because the version isn't there. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if the meaning changes based off of the interface version. That's why I'm like hesitant to do that. But it's a possibility for sure. Debug, please. Or maybe warn here is even fine. That might give me what I want. Okay. I think I want more info than this. I think I want debug. I think I want debug. Okay. So here they are trying to attach buffer 46, and it's not working because here they are trying to create some buffer based off of shared memory. So this is ID 46. Then they're creating... Oh, interesting. So then, are they trying to attach... Yeah, they're trying to make a cursor. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So I think what they're doing... So there are multiple ways of sharing pixel data between Windows and the window manager in Wayland. One is through just like raw pixel data in shared memory. One is through exporting GPU buffers that are like memory living on the GPU as a file descriptor and sending that across the wire and then like letting us re-import that in OpenGL land. And it seems like GLFW is saying for cursors, if I want to put like a custom cursor on the screen, I think, I'm not really sure, but I think they're saying I want to put a custom cursor on the screen and I am going to show you what that cursor should look like via shared memory. I think. And I don't know if we can like just read these things back through the same interfaces. I don't really know like what this thing is. So I think that like they've kind of asked us. I don't know who owns this thing, but there's somebody's asking for some shared memory. There's like this shared memory pool thing, and they have said, hey, at some offset in this shared memory pool, I have like some data for you. And I don't really know what if we can just use the same import mechanisms that we normally would. I think this is like a completely different type of surface. I think. So it's I don't think this is a DMA buffer. I wonder if this is like a thing that we can import though into OpenGL land directly, or I mean, we could just dodge this problem temporarily. I think that what if we just discard this type of buffer? That's not crazy. Because I don't really want to deal with figuring out how to import it. It's exactly the same as Windows Surface. I mean, by some metric. I don't think it's exactly the same. Because I don't think that it's a DMA buffer. I don't think. So I think that the import mechanism into OpenGL land is different. I think. I could be wrong. And because I'm not sure, I'm just going to discard them for now and deal with it later. I think that's the play. If the window is DMA but the cursor isn't, that's horrifying. That's what it looks like is happening to me. So it just looks different, right? So this guy is going to create a buffer. Okay, well, we have this. So create WL shared memory pools. They give us a file descriptor. Create pool. Yeah, so the client gives us a file descriptor that they own. Then from that file descriptor, they give us the data. and they attach that to a buffer. So they have create pool, they have a pool, they create a buffer, and that buffer is attached to some offset in this data, which I assume is just like raw pixel data. And then they try to do some shit with that. And we can just dodge this problem. So I think our surfaces now need to have like a type. So I think that this surface is like I think the surface is the same. It's just the buffer data is different. This is surprising to me. Something about this feels wrong where there's like double nulls here, but whatever. So I think what happens is we just do not populate these ever for WLSHM pool versions. Or we just put them somewhere else. That's another option. Or yeah, we could have like a completely separate area for like discarded WL buffers. You could do something like this, right? Where we're just like and then when we try to get the WL buffer, we like check this map to see if it exists and return something stupid. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Or like unhandled. Cool. Yeah. Hold on. Thinking. Ref counted render buffer. What's in here? We could also like propagate the data everywhere it's supposed to go and then just ignore it in the renderer. That might be easier. You should also unbuckle XGG stuff from your surface struct because you will someday down the road discover that there are more protocols that display a surface differently on the screen. Yeah, but we can just deal with it then. You know, code's pretty malleable, so I'm not really too worried about it. I think just like doing what makes sense for what we're doing right now is like completely fine. I think. Yeah, maybe it's this guy. Maybe it's that this render buffer this render buffer becomes a more complex type. Right, we could have union here, and we have like DMA buff here. And then, you know, some like shared memory pool. Or like just like maybe direct, like, yeah, it's got to be like shared memory, right? And it's going to have similar parameters, probably. FD offset with height stride format. It's kind of like this. Yeah, sure. Sure. And then we'll just see who screams at us because of this. Here we're assuming that every renderable thing is a window, though. And that's not true. But also, for now, we can, at the very least, support width on both. Right, we can kind of do this. This will work for now. I think. I'm not actually sure, but maybe. Maybe. We can always not do this if we don't like it. What's it pissed about? Oh. Oh, my bad. My bad. Okay. Height. Width. Width, height, width, height. Oh my god, there are so many. We're using this shit all over the place for the resize logic. You might say, this is fucking wrong. And I would say, you're probably fucking right. But also, you can't stop me. Alright. Surely we're close. So this guy doesn't want a render buffer. This guy's only importing, you know, DMA buff like this. Okay. And then in reality, this should just be more like DMA buff is this stuff. Boom, boom, boom. This guy is specifically a DMA buff. And then this guy should take a DMA buff, not a render buffer. And that makes this kind of nicer. Okay. So far, so good. Now here, when we try to import DMA buff, I guess we just switch on the buffer type. And if it's a DMA buff, we do this. Maybe here even this guy takes a DMA buff. And whoever calls import texture also, I guess he's like switch on this guy, probably. And then he's like, DMA buff is something. And if it's a shared memory buffer here, he just returns. He just doesn't know how to fucking render it. Okay. Okay. This render buffer from GBM can definitely exist here. Oopsies. Where he used to exist, right? We can kind of put this here. And he is now just like, I'm a DMA buff. Okay. FB from render buffer. This is in the DRM render backend, so this again takes in a DMA buff. Which means that this guy... Oh, then this should be DMA buff as well. Actually, I lied. I lied. This makes more sense where it was before. Is there something that you really like but you're not interested in? I don't understand the question. Surely those are the same, no? I would think that things that you like are things that you're interested in, but maybe I don't understand what you're saying. I might not. Um... Is it like this? I think it's something like this. DMA buff here. If ref count equals 0, I guess here we call dinit instead. We're like removing a file descriptor from a pool. I don't know yet. I'm just gonna write this. Because I don't know. I don't know what to do here yet, so I'm just gonna crash on that case and figure it out later. Figure it out later. Okay, so this compiles now. So everybody kind of is behaving the way they used to. And this thing crashes when we run over them again, but that's okay. So now we should be able to make these render buffers from the shared memory stuff. And it should end up somewhere. Probably. So when they call SHM pool and they try to make something, they try to like make a buffer or something, create buffer. I think that we have what we need now. I don't know. So we need to like put this somewhere? What is this mad about? Oh, this is not WLC. I'm fucking high. It's here. And then we say like self WL buffers, you know, put something. Do we do this somewhere else? Like when we put stuff in here, we just call put usually. Okay. It feels like we shouldn't clobber, but whatever. Buffer ID is something. So we kind of take this from, we make our strong type and use that to inject into this map. And we need to put a buffer in here. So what are WL buffers? These are ref counted render buffers. So I assume here we like, does this thing have a constructor? Okay. So this guy, I think, I don't really understand what I'm looking at here, to be honest. This thing, I think, takes the render buffer in directly now, because we need to be able to switch on if we're like the shared memory type or not. Which kind of means that whoever was calling this before is like responsible for making this part. Right? Hand wavy. It's kind of like this. Which means that like we're gonna type make and someone's gonna get fucking pissed off. This guy. So here we just make the render buffer like this. Or something? I don't know. Something like this. And then this guy's like, yo, here's my render buffer. Have at 'em. Buff params here, I guess, probably is what we're looking for. Yeah, here we go. So he's happy now. And now we can call this same thing when we try to make them out of the shared memory shit. Right? So we're just like, here you go. And these things are these are shared memory now. I don't know, man. What do we do if we don't have a file descriptor in other cases where we expect to? Oh, we just hard dereference it? That's dangerous. Crashing here seems insane to me, but that's what we're doing other places, so we will continue. And then what else does he want? He wants offset with height and format. Okay. I don't know, man. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, what's he pissed about now? Offset is an I32. Here we have him as U32, probably. Okay, that compiles. Basically I start studying in 1 week about these things, and after 2 weeks just get bored and give up. I think that's like fine though. Because like, I don't know, I don't have like an answer for that. I just do the same thing and I'm like okay with it. There's no way to force yourself to be interested in anything. Yeah. It's just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. I just live with it and like accept it. You know, you can like find ways to do things that are not, how do I say this? My brain's melting. You can find ways to work around the fact that you're not interested in something. But like, if you're not interested, you're not interested. You know? I think like, it is what it is. You just have to like accept that you feel certain ways about things. And you'll figure it out. Okay, so it looks like this shared memory pool thing does not come in with a file descriptor. Which I guess makes sense, because the file descriptor comes from the pool. So I'm just for now gonna be like, we should like, surely we should reference which shared memory handle we're using. But for now, we don't have to. Example, instead of finishing your custom gamepad, you can just invent your own Wayland server. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, let's fucking go, baby! Let's fucking go! Look at that shit. Look at that shit. We have input handling. Let's fucking go! Wait, that's actually so sick, man. Yeah, so I guess it was just GLFW was, so what was our two problems? It was one, that we were throwing out responses that required the interface to be bound to a certain version. So we fixed that by tracking versions and just guarding the one version thing we happen to be calling that crashes with the version that it's supposed to be on. So we need like a more generic answer to that, but we don't have it right now. And then the other thing that we had to do was we had to fix the like custom cursor shit, which we did by just like completely ignoring it. So, we kind of did this at some point, and then this was at some point like fix custom cursor crashing. You forgot about stride in the render buffer, Shom? Yeah, true. But also, it doesn't really matter because we're not actually using it. But yeah, so kind of like general like fix me's. Generic version guarding. Is this GLFW Wayland? Yeah. We need to kind of shrink this down a little bit. And then it's also shared memory, like, surfaces. These two things have to be, like, fixed properly. But for now, we have something that at least, like, works, which is huge for us. That is so big for us right now. Okay, so that brings us to, like, just over an hour, which means that we probably have time to do the rest of what we wanted to do, which is keyboard stuff. So, well, the keyboard stuff is going to require use of XKB Common, which I have absolutely no idea how to use. I think I saw something about some, like, key map passing and stuff. We have to, like, set up a demo that, like, uses keyboard input. Maybe I don't want to start that now. Maybe we call this a short VOD for today. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I think that it's going to be a pain in the ass. So, I would call it there. Let's just run this again so we can put it on the screen and be happy. Wowzer. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, we stream most days. We aim for 12:30 to 4 Pacific time. It is 3:20 now, so we didn't quite make it. But sometimes, you know, our plans don't go the way we wanted them to. Or reality doesn't match our plans. Whatever the fuck. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, check out the Twitch. Some parts, we stream for longer than what goes up here. If you're watching on Twitch, there's a YouTube link in the Twitch description. You can follow along. If you want VOD access to the stuff that doesn't go up on the YouTube, Patreon, YouTube members, Twitch subs are all ways you can support the stream and get that stuff in return. The stream will stop happening when I run out of money, so that's like a way to ensure that this stuff continues. But obviously no pressure. I think that's it. YouTube, peace out. Twitch, let's find someone to raid.